Welcome back to Talk Property to Me. My name is Brad East.
I'm Aaron Downey, and today we're talking about submitting offers and negotiating with agents.
Arguably one of the most important parts of purchasing a property.
Yeah.
You do this successfully, it could save you thousands.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be going through is basically, why they matter, why making an offer and negotiations matter. I'm going to talk about the different types of sales, private treaties, auctions, that sort of thing. But stick around to the end. We're also going to be discussing some common tactics that real estate agents use to drive prices up.
There's very common tactics with negotiating and ways that you can structure an offer, which is going to outperform the market, and you'll be able to save on purchase price every day of the week.
100%. So, stick around. We've got some good content in this episode, so we'll get straight into it. So, making an offer, obviously that happens once you've found a house. So you'd go out, you got your pre-approval sorted or whatever it is. You go out, you start looking at places, you found a place that you really like, you're going to make an offer. Now, that offer has to be taken back to the vendor, doesn't it, from the real estate agent?
Yeah, it does.
So I guess there's different types of sales which will result in different types of offers, isn't there? So you've got your private treaty, you've got your auction, expressions of interest. So I guess we'll go through each of those first and explain what they are. So a private treaty is literally when they've just listed it for sale.
Yeah.
And it has a price on it. Well, more commonly at the moment, has no price on it.
And with private treaties, there's different ways that each agent will look after that private treaty sale. It might be just open to, it's on the market, and when offers start coming in, that's when we start negotiating.
Yep.
Other agents, they might do like a 3 or 4 week campaign, and then they go submit your offers, and then we start negotiating. And it really depends on the property type at the end of the day. Is it in high demand? All of these different considerations. But first and foremost, regardless of the property sale, expressions of interest, auction or private treaty, negotiating starts when you first ever meet the agent.
Yep. Because
real estate agents are qualifying you. So when you walk through the door, they're asking you, what's your budget? How long have you been looking? Have you bid at auction before?
You've got pre-approval.
Have you got pre-approval? And all of these questions then set them up for the future, because real estate agents know that typically it's 6 to 9 months that a buyer's in the market before they purchase. So if you're wanting to try and get access to off markets or pre-markets or any of these things, if you've been qualified by the agent, they know that you're probably going to be in the market for another couple of months before you're seriously buying, and then put you in a position where they can use you as leverage until you're in a position to know what the market value is and realistically start negotiating on a property.
Yeah, we see it all the time, and I've recently sold a property, and literally that was the conversation after every open home we had.
Yeah.
The agent basically bundles people into categories.
Yeah.
Your window shoppers, your serious buyers, and God knows. So there was ones that literally said nothing.
Yeah.
They'd give them absolutely nothing, really cold. Others that would tell them everything. Yeah. And others that would just tell them, I'm just from up the street. Yeah. I'm having a little look.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I remember your sale. It was a big number, so the anchoring tactic might have been used in that strategy. But
do you want to just explain what the anchoring tactic is?
Yeah. So in terms of negotiating, I think that's the most important thing is that first interaction with any real estate agent, and that's where buyers always fall short, because they go into the market, they start inspecting properties, and then they realise, far out, this is a bit harder than I expected. And then they start learning about these things, but they've already been qualified before they start learning. So that's the biggest one. But in terms of the actual negotiating strategy, there's different techniques. And like you said, the anchoring technique, that's just a psychological benchmark for people, whether it's high or low. So if a real estate agent has used their 10% rule that they're legally allowed to use, and let's say, for example, if market value for a property is 1.1 million, the agent's going to list it for $1 million because he wants to get more interest in the door which is then creating artificial scarcity, which is another negotiating tactic.
Yep. So they might even list it at 990, so that the filters on real estate and domain capture more people.
Yeah,
they get 100 people, interested, but only 5 of them are actually interested at 1.1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And leading up to that campaign, all of those qualified buyers who were in the market for a particular product similar to that property, they probably got an email for a pre-market open home, or they're getting emails about the property just hitting the market. So they're getting as much interest to that property as they can, knowing that the $1 million buyers can't afford it. But because they've set that $1 million benchmark, when somebody goes and pays over $1.1 million for it, you can't justify it because you've been anchored at that price. Same can be said about the higher price point, and this is really where we see deals actually transact, but it's where people get set up the most with anchoring. And it happens a lot more in Sydney because it's mostly the higher prices. The real estate agent might show you through and you say, hey, what are you guiding on the property? Oh, we're chasing 4 million. And then realistically, the property's worth about 3.5. But they're saying to you 4 million so that when you submit an offer, you submit at 3.5, which is market value. And then the agent comes back to you and says, oh, hey, listen, we appreciate the offer, but have you got any more in it? It's just not meeting the market at the moment. When you increase it, even if you increase it by 100 or 200 grand, you think that you've saved 300 grand from the 4 million that you've been anchored at.
Because you think that's what it's worth.
You think that's what it's worth because that's apparently what they're chasing.
I think Coles and Woolies are in trouble at the moment for doing that. They they put their prices up for a week or two, and then they reduced them to higher than what it originally was, and then said it's on sale.
Yeah,
so
Black Friday sales.
Yeah, it's actually 20% higher than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, but for 2 weeks it went up.
Yeah,
but that's a good point. People have got that discounting mentality. Yeah. So they think, oh, wow, they've dropped that from 4 mil down to 3.7.
Yeah.
What a bargain. When actually it's worth 3.5.
Exactly.
And that's a psychology of selling, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think you're getting a bargain, you're more likely to take that action.
Yeah.
A lot of buyers do that as well. So, if you know that a market averages around 3 months on the market, they know they're not going to sell it in the first few weeks. It's just not going to happen. So they might set it at a higher level and then discount it to a level where they know they're going to sell it, and people jump on it. They go, oh, wow, they're really starting to drop the price of this house now. Yeah. Let's jump on it now.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Real estate agents, they have data that they use, but they've got the live data that they see in terms of buyer activity in the market every week. And they're pricing those houses accordingly. They know that if we listed at this price, this is how many buyers we're going to get through.
Yep.
Generally speaking.
And especially in the current market, if it's going to take a few months, you're not going to list it at the price you think you're going to get it because people are going to sit and wait. There's lots of stock at the moment.
Yeah.
They're going to sit and wait no matter what. Yeah. People have got time now to actually go through 3 or 4 properties, sit back for 3 or 4 weeks and decide what they want.
And realistically, I think because at the moment we're in a buyer's market in some suburb, in some areas, so I see some agents trying to use a low anchoring technique to generate more interest, but buyers in the market aren't pulling the trigger at the moment. They're just sitting on their hands.
It's not working like it did during COVID.
Yeah.
During COVID, because there was so much demand, they would list, and we saw it all. That's when the big underquoting thing hit the media because they were listing properties at 800,000, knowing they're going to sell for 1.2.
Yeah.
And you looked at RP data, you looked at all the comparative reports that indicated it was going to sell for 1.2. Yeah. But they would just say, oh no, we just didn't know. We're just entering in the market at 800 to see what would happen.
And the buyers that are paying that figure, they've done their research. They're a qualified buyer. They've probably been in the market and missed out on opportunity similar before, and they've then come to a position where they're conditioned. And they go, well, this is realistically what the property's worth. But the agents are still using the techniques of trying to generate interest.
One thing that I noticed, I obviously bought a house at the start of this year locally in Newcastle. One of the lines that I got hit with almost every open home at the moment, which seems to be a new thing, is where do you see value?
Yeah.
That seems to be a question that they're asking a lot.
Yeah.
And I was a bit of an arsehole. I didn't tell them anything.
Yeah.
So I'm that third one that doesn't give them any information at all. I walk through, don't give them any feedback.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'll walk out.
Well, on that, I think that's something that the buyers can use to their advantage, because you can anchor the agents back as well.
The other way, yeah.
If there's a property for 1.5 mil and you walk through and just say, hey, listen, I'm not probably going to be the buyer for this because my budget's 1.3.
Yeah.
Or if you don't even tell them your budget, you just say, if they ask you where they see value, you say, oh, look, probably around 1.3.
Yeah, based on what's sold recently.
Yeah. And then they think, fuck, this buyer's not the buyer. And then all of a sudden you come in with an offer of 1.45 and the agent's like, fuck, I thought he was at 1.3.
Yeah. Yeah, so they come out of nowhere. But we did a similar thing when we purchased. So it was actually listed originally as an EOI.
Yeah.
I didn't put an EOI in. I refused to do it.
Yeah.
They wanted these magical numbers pulled out.
Yeah.
I said, nope, you tell me what they want and I'll tell you whether I'm willing to pay that and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you need to put an EOI in. So that's fine. And I didn't.
Yeah.
I held very firm on that.
Yeah.
And I did not put it in.
Yeah.
The end of the EOI cycle, they literally rang me the day after.
Yeah.
Look, the price didn't quite get to where they wanted. So what is that price then?
Yeah.
They told me a price. I said, well, look, I'm probably okay paying similar to that.
Yeah.
So sometimes these tactics...
And that's the thing. Transparency in a buyer's market like this is always a good thing.
The market price is what you're willing to sell it for and what I'm willing to buy it for, and we agree on that.
Yeah. That market value is two parties agreeing.
Yeah. So just to summarise, though, the private treaty is essentially it's been listed. Mm-hmm. It's got no end date. There's no, it basically sits on the market until two people agree on a sale price and a purchase price.
Yeah.
Simple as that. There's going to be some different tactics that they use under a private treaty, as you said, anchoring, so listing it either high or low, trying to get people in. It's very rare that real estate agents are actually honest with what they want to sell it for.
Yeah.
These are all just sales tactics. We've also got auction. So auction, anything pre-auction. So any pre-auction offers are still subject to auction conditions, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, in terms of moving in with offers, the best way to craft an offer and to try and secure the property under value or under what somebody else is willing to pay is not just using price, but using terms in your favour. So through the different negotiating techniques, where it's mirroring or labelling or this anchoring like we've discussed, you need to find out what the motivations of the seller is. Are they upsizing? Are they downsizing? Is there no urgency for the sale? All of these different things are going to be considerations. Do they need a short or long settlement? Do they need to release a deposit? Is it an investment property and then you're inheriting the tenancy? All of these things can be used as leverage in your favour. And if there's an offer on the table of, say, $1 million and someone else has offered $1.05 million, if you can meet the terms in terms of an unconditional offer, so that there's certainty for the vendor, you can meet the settlement time frame and any other conditions that the seller wants, you'll always get a lower figure accepted.
So the $1 million offer with better conditions might be more valuable to the vendor than the 1.100%, the $1.05 million.
Because think the most important thing is, like I said, putting yourself in the seller's shoes. If this, we've spoken about it before, if they're selling a house, they're either upsizing or downsizing. They're going somewhere. The rare case that they might be selling to go overseas and it's just, it doesn't really matter.
They're not buying again or whatever it is.
Yeah. But if they're selling, they're buying somewhere else regardless. So, like I said, do they need access to the deposit and get your solicitor to make sure that you're protected to get that back if something happens? But put yourself in their position. If they've got a simultaneous settlement and they need a 6-week settlement because they've gone and purchased another house, and if somebody else can't meet that 6-week settlement period, and you're always going to beat them on price.
We see it a lot.
Yeah.
At the moment, a lot of the purchasers as well, if they're selling, they're going to want 6 months settlement period. instantly for someone that's purchased elsewhere, upsizing, downsizing, that 6 months isn't going to be suitable.
6 months is a long settlement
You
period.
know, 3 months even for some vendors, they're like, well, I've already bought somewhere else.
Yeah.
I need it sooner.
Yeah.
You know,
The most typical I see is just the standard 35, 42 days for 6 weeks.
yeah. So yeah, let's say that you see a listing, it's up for auction. If you make an offer prior to the actual auction, it's an unconditional offer, meaning that there's no cooling off, no finance. You need to get all those ducks in a row before you make that unconditional offer.
Yeah.
Because if they accept it and you exchange, you've bought the place.
Yeah.
The reason that a lot of agents do the auction is because there's 3 opportunities to sell. You've got the pre-auction offers, which are unconditional.
Yeah.
Then you've got the auction day, which again, they can sell on the auction day if you meet a certain reserve. And then you've got post-auction negotiations. So a lot of agents do prefer that because they've got those 3 different, I guess, negotiating techniques at that point. But just bear in mind that each one of those generally relates to an unconditional offer.
Yeah. And for the listeners, if you don't know what the unconditional offer is, typically with a private treaty sale, when you submit an offer and it gets accepted, you exchange contracts. If you haven't already done your due diligence and you want to get pest and building inspections done or you need to get a bank valuation for finance, whatever it is, you've got a 5-day cooling off period that you enter into, and then you can rescind that contract, but you are subject to 0.25% deposit loss.
Yeah, which isn't a great deal anyway.
It's not, but if you're running, if you've got an auction campaign especially, that auction campaign is going to be over a 4 or 6 week period.
Yeah.
You have time to order a bank valuation, review the pest and building report, or order one if you haven't done so yourself, if the vendor hasn't done so themselves. You have time to do that research yourselves to put yourself in a position then to be unconditional.
Yep. So most auction campaigns are 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So you do have time to do it. As far as getting, you can't technically get a pre-auction or pre-purchase valuation, but you can pretend that you have had an offer accepted prior.
Yeah.
So what I have had done for clients previously is, let's say they have listed with an auction campaign at 2 mil.
Yeah.
And my client knows the maximum that they're going to go to is 1.9. We can get a front page of the contract, fill it out at 1.9, get a bank valuation done at 1.9.
They think that it's exchanged already.
Yeah. Knowing that that's the maximum that they're going to go to. Anything below that, happy days.
Yeah.
So that's one. There is certain ways you can sort of safeguard, but you do need that time to be able to sort those things out in the background. But as I said, be mindful that it is a unconditional offer and you are locked in when that happens.
Yeah.
Expression of interest, we don't see much of it in the current market.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's very similar to a private treaty sale. Realistically, if it's an expressions of interest, we see those more so on big stock when there's not really a lot of buyers. But if it's not one of those and it's just a standard residential property where it would normally have a bit of competition, if it's an expressions of interest, most likely the vendor isn't that motivated to sell.
No.
And they're just testing the market to see where buyers are at, and
hoping to get more than what,
Yeah.
It's not going to, in a buyer's market, it's not a great idea.
No.
Because you're going to get a lot of lowball offers.
Yeah.
It's as simple as
that. You might even get none because a lot of buyers are just like, well,
like me.
what are you expecting on this?
That's exactly what I said. What do they actually want? Look, they just want to see what the market does. Well, let's just see what the market does.
Yeah.
So I didn't want a bar of it, so a lot of people won't in the current market. I know that, when market was more of a seller's market, a lot of agents were doing the best and final. So similar.
Yeah.
So look, and it was turning into almost a silent auction.
They always say best and final, you submit it, and then they call you back and say, hey, we've got an offer in, can you come back more? What happened to best and final?
We've seen that. And I've seen that a lot too, and I won't name and shame any local agents, but one of my clients actually pulled out because it was best and final by 5 p.m. on a Friday. They rang back at 5:30 and said something was $5,000 more. Can you go higher?
Yeah.
He said, shove it up your ass.
It was best and final.
Yep, that was my best and final. And then they came back like not even 20 minutes later going, the other buyers pulled out.
Yeah.
Are you still on the market? He said, no.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You can burn buyers in that way.
100%.
He went best and final. They weren't happy. They wanted $5,000 more.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So he actually, honestly, didn't proceed with that property.
And the thing is, we've spoken about these unconditional offers and meeting the vendor's requirements, but one important thing to note is sometimes the vendor isn't motivated by anything.
Yeah.
And it's purely just the price. And that's where we see properties hard to transact because the vendors, for some reason, just want a really unrealistic price and the buyers can't typically get there. In that instance, one of the two biggest things I think in that scenario is silence and walking away.
Yep.
And you just discussed walking away there, where your client did his best and final, and then he walked away.
Yep.
That the same goes for when you're at auction. Set your budget based on market research and what you realistically think that property's worth, and then do not go above it. And if the price, if it passes in at auction, and then you can negotiate before whatever, but stick firm to that price, especially if it's a private treaty sale. Don't go above that price, and the willingness to walk away is a powerful negotiating tool. And the same can be said for silence.
I think both together.
If you submit an offer and you've confirmed that the real estate agent's received it, so you know it's been received, you just don't say anything then. Because if you submit an offer and then you're calling the real estate agent that day or the following day, the real estate agent goes, I've got this person hook, line and sinker, because they've submitted an offer and now they're chasing me to see where we're at.
Yeah.
If you just say nothing, then it almost creates a bit of discomfort for the real estate agent to be like, oh, I wonder if this buyer's still in the market or not.
It creates, it's just psychology, isn't it? Really, it's basic psychology. If you can tell someone really, really wants something, you feel like you've got them.
Yeah.
This guy, they love the place. You know, they're emotionally attached.
Yeah.
Let's see how quick or how much we can squeeze out of them. If you come in, you're cold, calm, collected,
100%.
Don't give them any feedback at all, which is more my style was.
Yeah.
Walk through, it was all right.
And if anyone's ever been ghosted before, they know what the feeling's like.
You want them more.
Yeah.
If someone's pushing forward to you, you tend to back the other way.
100%.
And if they're backing the other way, you push forward.
Yeah.
So that's just basic human behaviour.
Yeah.
So the same goes when you're buying something. If all of a sudden this buyer disappears on them, they're going to chase you.
Yeah.
Do you want to put an offer in? What's the best you can do? Blah, blah, blah. I'll take anything back. All of a sudden, the power starts to shift. And then their secondary tactics like scarcity and all these things start to seem like absolute crap, because why are you chasing me if there's 14 other people interested in the place?
Exactly.
That's where it starts to pop in of, all right, this seems like a bit of crap.
Yeah.
So
and that's one thing. Like scarcity is another one. And there's different types of scarcity. There's of course scarcity if you're talking about the property type itself and whether that's in limited supply. But in terms of supply and demand dynamics, is there a lot of demand for that property, or is that real estate agent just using scarcity to try and create some sort of urgency for the sale? And then put you in a position to submit an offer. So that's why, like, knowing the market, being in the market, doing the research, but also seeing buyer activity and experiencing that offer situation or the auction room floor before is a really powerful tool, because you need to know where the other buyers are at.
So your top tips, in summary, what would be your top tips for anyone wanting to buy in this current market?
I think it's putting yourself in a position similar to an auction campaign, but leading up to that, you need to know the motivations of the vendor. You need to complete the pest and building report. You need to review your strata reports. You need to make sure that the contracts have been amended. Any other research that you want to do to the property, whether it's a feasibility for a development site, get all of the research out of the way. Make sure that you've been in the market for a little while, and if you haven't, make sure that you understand the market and do the research to understand true market value at the time and don't let the real estate agents use you as leverage.
Yep.
And then use these techniques and even read books to try and, upskill in these techniques to put yourself in a position to submit an offer that's going to be favourable to the vendor to accept a lower price. And if you're unconditional, it beats a conditional offer every day.
100%. So basically, try and figure out what exactly the vendor wants and try and match that.
100%.
Simple as that. If they want a long settlement, you might be able to do that because they've bought something that's settling in 6 months.
Yeah.
Work around that. If they want a short settlement, see if that works for you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's going to beat price.
Yeah. Because
within reason.
You think about it, like if say, for example, they've got a simultaneous settlement and the vendor's got to go and live somewhere for 2 weeks, they've got to factor that into their cost. I've got to go get an Airbnb. I've got to pay 2 removalist fees. I've got to pay for a storage shed for my furniture for 2 weeks. That comes into consideration when an offer's on the table.
Does. So I guess we've gone through all that. So what are some main things to watch out for? We've already touched on the high anchoring. That is they're going to aim high and start negotiating it down so you feel like you're getting a bargain.
Yeah.
The one that we see a lot of, and I have seen quite recently, I guess in a real life scenario, is the artificial scarcity. My client just did a purchase a couple of weeks ago for a property that had been on the market for about 4.5 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
As soon as my client made an offer, all of a sudden there was another 2 interested parties.
Yeah.
And those interested parties had made offers.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you what those offers are, but you need to be unconditional by Friday, otherwise we're going to take their offers.
Yeah.
So that then pushed, they tried it on me as well. I even had the real estate agent ringing me saying, the offer needs to be unconditional because it was in a cooling off period for 5 days. It needs to be unconditional by close of business Friday. I said, that's no problems at all. My client's got another property in mind. If this falls through, they'll go with that one.
Yeah.
So even me, I was trying to shift it for the client as well.
Yeah.
I don't play those games with real estate agents. We have, as brokers, we have mostly zero control over the speed of a lender. So calling me and putting pressure on me isn't going to help the situation at all.
Yeah.
We already know that there's urgency. We try to get things through as quickly as we can already.
Yeah.
I don't need a real estate agent or a buyer's agent or anyone ringing me saying, it needs to be done by this day.
Yeah.
It got to the Friday and all of a sudden, there was all these other offers on the table, and if it wasn't accepted, if it wasn't unconditional by 5 p.m, they were going to go with someone else.
Yeah.
So we didn't get the approval at that point. About 2:00 in the afternoon, we sort of made a decision. We haven't got the formal approval yet. Let's ask for the extension, but we bypassed the agent and we had the conveyancer. Conveyancer talked to the other conveyancer.
Yeah.
Within half an hour, it came back and said it's been extended until next Friday.
And honestly, that's probably a good point for buyers out there, because when you're trying to chase things like building reports, strata reports, or just get a very simple answer from the vendor, like whatever it is, sometimes the agent just, I don't know, maybe they can't be bothered doing their job to produce that information, or they've just got that much on their plate. They're too busy to do so. But I've plenty of times where I just email the solicitor, conveyancer, get exactly what I want.
They're going to talk in a more... There's no sales tactics between the two solicitors.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're like, can you extend the cooling off? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
The agent wanted it to be done by 5 p.m. that day because they get paid
exactly
on the 10% at unconditional.
Yeah.
Because they keep their commission out of the 10%.
Yeah.
So on settlement day, they don't release all of it.
Oops.
They release the 10% minus their commission.
Yeah.
That's payday for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So for them, they're going to create the artificial scarcity. They're going to create that urgency. Needs to be done this Friday.
Well, a conditional contract is technically not sold, so the vendor could be pushing them to still hold open homes.
Yep.
So, the agent just wants the deal done so that they can move on to the next one.
They don't want to keep pushing it, know, and at the end of the day, stay calm. Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Don't fall into the emotional trap as well. My client, in that case, had told the agent how much they loved it and how much they didn't want to miss out on it.
Do not do that.
And all these things that you do not tell an agent.
No.
because that is just emotional abuse that they're going to cop. You're going to cop from them afterwards.
Minimise the amount of leverage that you can give the agent to use back on you.
It's just this sales tactic that pops in. You are going to miss out if you don't take action now.
Yeah.
And what this agent was doing was calling me and then calling the client.
Yeah.
If they didn't get what they wanted out of me, which they never do. I just go, too easy. If we lose it, we lose it.
Yeah.
I will never buy into that. Then they would ring the client and say, I've spoken to your broker. They don't think it's going to happen by Friday, so you're probably going to miss out. And then my client then rings me going, is there something we can do?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like it's a stressful situation for both parties, the buyer and the seller.
Yep.
Because both want answers. Like and that's what I keep saying, put yourself in the vendor's shoes. Think about their position. They've just got an offer sitting on the table.
Yep.
They don't know if they have to continue with the market or whatever, but it all depends on the market as well. Like if you're in the eastern suburbs of Sydney for really, really scarce properties that there's always buyers for regardless of the market, there will be unconditional offers for every single one that comes in.
Yep.
So
I guess to summarise today, my biggest tip, and I think yours as well, is the agent is not your friend as the purchaser. They may appear to be. Have a nice little friendly chat with you, build some rapport. They're going to drag as much information out of you as they can. They're going to find out your motives, where you find value, all of these things, how long you've been in the market. They're profiling you.
Exactly.
They might seem like a good bloke or a nice lady that you just had a great chat with, but all they've done is figure out how hard they can squeeze you.
Yeah.
So
and that's why buyer's agents exist.
Get a buyer's agent, because you can tell all that information to the buyer's agent who works on your behalf. Or if you don't want to do that, be cold, stern, calm. Don't give them anything.
At the end of the day, if you're not paying the real estate agent, who are they working for?
They don't work for you.
Whoever's paying them, that's who they're working for.
Yep.
So if you think you're getting a bargain from an agent or they're giving you information, they're not selling anyone else.
They've said that to every person that's come through the place. They are not your friend. Sorry to any real estate agents out there, but you work for your vendor. You don't work for the person buying.
Exactly.
And you're going to squeeze that person buying, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So that's it for today. Make sure you jump on and like and share and do all the things for the YouTube, and also jump in our Facebook group. If you have any suggestions for any topics, please comment on this video. We're happy to chat about just about anything.
Topics are important.
Yep. So if not, we'll just keep making them up each week as we go.
Exactly.
Thanks for that. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you next week.